Hey, yo everybody, welcome to the esports wall, or rather, sorry, to the jDL German 4.4 best of two. This is going to be, I believe, week number 3 for both of these teams is when this match would have taken place. But in any case, we're going to be casting between Team Red, going to be on the Radiant side, and then Sheeps Will Own You are going to be on the Dire this game, and then we'll switch it up going into game 2. So hopefully we have some pretty good Dota on our hands. Pretty excited. Yeah, so German 4.4. Sheeps currently tied for second place with a 3-1 record. And Team Red sitting at 2-0, so both certainly respectable. Team Red need to make up a couple matches, but hopefully those will come pretty soon. And as a result, both teams sitting near the top of the table. This match could have, long-term implications on both teams for certainly from a momentum perspective, given it's this early in the season. We could see a lot of big plays coming out, and whichever team manages to pull out the win, or if the teams split, both results would be favorable, certainly. As going into the later part of the seasons, every win matters. But going into the draft, we have Tinker, Batrider, Ricky, and the Beastmaster removed. Four pretty typical bans, I would say. Nothing too surprising there. But we are going to see the Slardar picked up, with the Vengeful Spirit being the choice for Team Red. Vengeful Spirit, obviously, really good against the Faceless Void, who is a pretty popular core offlaner flex pick as of right now, so certainly not too surprising to see her, Lion, another really favorable support that we've been seeing a lot. Slardar, we've been seeing on and off in kind of a offlaner role, a dual offlaner role, or on occasion as a one position to get him that really fast armlet into a blink dagger. So we'll have to see where Sheeps look to place the Slardar, and the Lion going to be picked up as well. Again, just a really good general support, very good in pick comps, very good in team fighting compositions, as long as you can get going. Tidehunter is going to be the choice for Team Red. So Tidehunter was kicked out of the meta for a bit, and then with the addition of the large camp near the off lane, Tidehunter has really come back into his own even after the nerfs to the Ancients through the past couple patches. So it's nice to see him back. Really fun hero to watch, obviously. Wouldn't be surprised to see Team Red pick up a Enigma of some sorts or some other wombo combo hero. But Tidehunter, definitely one of those heroes that, he can get going, and if he's really competent and really knows what he's doing, he'll be a-okay for just making sure he can get to at least a relatively decent timing on either his mechanism or his blink dagger. Disruptor going to be removed, as well as the Lifestealer from Sheeps. Lifestealer, we've been seeing a lot of. He's been kind of nerfed, especially in 6.8, but we're still seeing quite a bit of him, especially a lot of respect bans coming out, I think, on the Lifestealer, less that he's being picked. Disruptor getting removed as well. Disruptor kind of a hero that you have to really know how to play around, so we're not too surprised to see that getting removed. Rubik gonna get taken out of the pool, as well as the Elder Titan. Rubik getting removed makes me believe that we are gonna see a lot of sort of wombo combo coming out on the side of Team Red. Rubik, you really only need to ban him, especially given the current state of the game. You really only need to remove him if you're going to be picking big ultimates. And Rubik being one of the best heroes against the Enigma leads me to just assume that that's what they're looking for. But they are going to pick up the Terrorblade, and Sheeps will lead off with a Timbersaw. Timbersaw really good against Tidehunter, just because he can, stay. He can remove a bunch of his strength. Vengeful Spirit does do actually decently well against Timbersaw, so that'll be a bit of a concern for Sheeps. Terrorblade does okay against Timbersaw. It's kind of a back and forth thing. Timbersaw can have a lot of burst, which is, the big way to deal with a Terrorblade, and it's all pure. So given Terrorblade has pretty low strength, I believe, that's going to be a pretty solid pickup for Team Sheeps. But Team Red, still needing a mid and a second support. Morphling going to be picked up for Sheeps, rounding out their cores, I believe. So it's most likely going to be a Slardar off lane with a Timber Saw mid. Could also be a Morphling mid and a Slardar in the safe lane, and then Timber Saw in the off lane. But we'll have to see as this draft kind of unfolds from Sheeps. Death Prophet is going to be picked up from from Team Red. And looking like we're seeing sort of a shift here. We did see it at the beginning, looked like a big team fighting composition, but instead that Tidehunter is really just going to be to secure the push, to make sure that they can disengage if a fight ever comes onto them, to sort of, in effect, counter the Slardar, is how I would approach looking at this game, this draft. Just to make sure that if Slardar gets a really good jump, Timbersaw is able to jump in and get off a really good chakra, Morphling is going to start blinking in and throwing out some adaptive strikes, that, Tidehunter can react to that and sit in the back, wait for his opportunity, get off the good Ravage, and Sheeps have to engage into a Tidehunter or they're just going to lose buildings. So certainly a really smart draft there. Dazzle going to get removed from Sheeps. So want to protect against the sort of assassination composition that we're seeing from Sheeps, where they're just going to try and blow somebody up. Morphling's going to pick up a shotgun build, most likely. Slardar, does a lot of help, and we're actually going to see the Shadow. Okay, so we saw a similar composition coming out in a little bit of pro play, where Shadow Demon, especially coupled with the Terrorblade, you throw out the Disruption, and Terrorblade is now in a position where he has 2 free illusions without burning any of his mana. Terrorblade can pop the Metamorphosis, can sit back, really safe. Shadow Demon also decent against the Slardar, decent against a lot of this burst damage that we're seeing if he can get off a really good disruption. So the Shadow Demon pick, I like that. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays into this draft that Team Red have started to see. And Sheeps now kind of scratching their heads. We'll have to see. They still need what looks like a second support. So they could go for... They need something that can help defend high ground, really, or something that can really force a fight. I almost wouldn't be that upset seeing like a Pudge. But that certainly isn't the choice here, especially due to the Vengeful Spirit swap. We could see... an Oracle, I guess. But again, Oracle doesn't really help with the engage. Could see a Silencer. Disruptor actually would have been a great choice for Sheep. It's a shame that they banned that out. If you want to try and win the early game, maybe you go for a Bounty Hunter here and try and salvage, because I don't know if Sheeps really have the lanes to deal with how well Team Red scale. I think it's pretty close in terms of who scales the best. Morphling obviously scales pretty well, but we are going to see the Witch Doctor, so a more standard support to maybe just help secure kill potential on whoever goes into the safe lane. So most likely the Tidehunter. But then again, you're still working with Kraken Shell, so it'll be... It's looking like it's going to be a bit of a tough game here for Sheeps going into the first draft. I feel like we'll have to see. They might have enough engage to make this play work, especially if the Slardar can get going. But we'll have to see. This is certainly anybody's game. I think both drafts have their strengths, and it's really going to come down to execution on who can get going earliest. But we'll go through the lineups really quickly, starting off on the Dire. We got Slim Shadow playing the Timbersaw. Joom is going to be holding on to the Slada. Nevox is going to be playing the Lion. Dark Eve is going to be playing the Witch Doctor and Kritzel, holding on to the Morphling. Meanwhile, on the Radiant side, we'll have Red Orc picking up the Shadow Demon. Arctic holding on to the Terrorblade, who is already making his way out to the safe lane. We'll have Play with Int, going to be picking up the Vengeful Spirit, and that is going to be, Secret picking up Death Prophet, and then Boulder Rain finishing off the lineup with the Tidehunter. So, like I said, I think it's a little confusing on what the lane situation is going to look like. It appears that it is going to be Kritzel moving into the mid lane, given the shared tangos, and that's probably going to leave They might actually look for a lane swap here with Joom picking up. Yeah, okay, so that's going to be an off-lane Slardar, it seems. And then Kritzel going to be in the mid lane, and Timbersaw, some Shadow, picking it up in the off lane. So most likely we're going to see Nivox and Dark Eve rotating into the off lane to potentially do some sort of a lane swap here. But right now, it looks like we're just going to have an even trade for the runes. As, yeah, Boulder Rain just going to sit up on the high ground, sort of scout out what's going on. Nivox rotating through. Wants to try and get a block here on the camp, but hasn't decided to throw out the ward yet. So, is going to eventually block it. Boulder Rain probably going to be left without a camp as a result. And actually, Joom getting very aggressively played, and Int is going to look to block. So both camps are going to be blocked early on. And let's see what the result is there moving into the mid game. Nivox rotating through. Looks like he's going to try and throw down a sentry, see if he can pick up any high ground wards. Nothing there for Secret. So Team Red potentially wasting a couple sentries from this dire side. As looks like Boulder Rain is actually going to rotate way off, and it is going to get spotted by the creep wave. So maybe losing a bit of that surprise factor here, as both camps are successfully blocked. But Lion is going to rotate down, and wouldn't be surprised to see Dark Eve rotating off either. He's going to be going ahead and stacking up a couple camps, just trying to maybe allow the Timbersaw to farm. Joom going to do the same thing as the Tidehunter and rotate off, but was a little bit slower, so might get punished as a result. Meanwhile, Timbersaw is actually getting complete free farm here as well as the Terrorblade. And if Timbersaw can actually maintain this advantage and get going early with the farm that he's going to be receiving here, he might be able to just really take off. And it looks like Tidehunter is actually going to rotate back into the top lane. Meanwhile, Dark Eve, Death Prophet, going to take some trading blows at each other. Dark Eve just looking to zone out. And Kritzel just going to be content with farming for now. Just wants to move forward, try and get as much farm as he can. We'll have to see what his build looks like, if he's going to go for like a Lincoln Sphere, or if he's going to go straight for a shotgun build. But still just at this point, waiting for the game to move past the laning phase. And Joom actually still sitting in the jungle, just going ahead, farming up. And as a result, he's probably going to be a little bit farther behind. Meanwhile, Boulder Rain is going to get shoved under tower. Is doing a decent job of finding last hits, actually. 8 last hits. And this is just the result of knowing that the supports have moved off. Knowing that there's not going to be anything to contest him here. The supports are still busy rotating through the lanes. Dark Eve is continuing to sit mid and trying to pressure the Death Prophet, which is leading to actually Kritzel having a decent sized farming advantage. 10 last hits and 7 denies as opposed to the 7-2 score of the Death Prophet. But Secret, you know, once he gets level 6, he's probably just going to rotate off the lane anyway and look to push towers with the Exorcism. And smartly, actually, we are going to see Nivox rotate into the bottom lane, and once the tower pushes in, he might just try and pick up some experience as well. So, Eve, still level 2, Kritzel getting shoved under tower, but he'll be okay. Does have his bottle ready to go. Secret with his bottle as well. Does not actually have a point in silence, but not going to be doing too much against Kritzel here. As Dark Eve actually going to rotate around and just, again, throw out a couple of hits, but actually, with the Soul Siphon, this is going to put Dark Eve in a very dangerous position. First Blood is going to go onto the Lion. And that's going to mostly come off the back of the Metamorphosis. So I wasn't sure if there was going to be a kill in the mid lane, but regardless, we do see one kill going forward. And not going to be surprised to see Arctic throw out the Disruption here. Or Red Orc. Throw out the Disruption onto the Terrorblade once they get closer to the tower. But Disruption might actually have to wait here as Metamorphosis is going to end shortly. Terrorblade, meanwhile, moving quickly towards what I believe will be a Ring of Aquila. And Arctic gonna get a few hits onto the T1. before Metamorphosis is complete. But Nivok's still going to be able to secure a little bit of farm here for himself. Kritzel going to take a stun to the face, and Plaything going to do his best to try and pick off the Morphling as Secret drops very low off the backside. And in the jungle, Joom actually dropping very low as well. Might look to buy out and maybe walk home, we'll have to see. But instead, he's going to just sprint it out. So overall, a slight gold lead I would expect for the Radiant side is, yeah, Team Red pulling ahead just a little bit. Not anything too major here. Only a 500 gold or experience lead coming off so far. But still, it's something to take note of as they move into the mid game. But still, Slim Shadow getting quite a bit here out of the safe lane, and should be picking up a pretty early Bloodstone, which might be one of the big keys to this game, is if he can make a lot happen off the back of that, get himself an early Blink Dagger as well as the Bloodstone, and move forward on the rest of his item progression, he will be able to make big strides in this game, as he'll even be able to potentially burst down the Terror Blade. But for now, just going to be content farming, and Nivox once again doing the same. So far, pretty decent sized level gap on the side of Team Red, as they've been just doing a good job of, with the Tidehunter rotating over early, he's able to farm the jungle much quicker than, say, a Slardar, who Joom is getting a little bit out of the jungle, but still struggling to get going. Kritzel, is a little bit ahead of Secret, is going to wave forward. And actually, this might have bit off more than he could chew here, as Kritzel now getting chased by Secret with the Soul Siphon. Cask is going to bounce back and forth, but is only going to do so much. Meanwhile, Joom, 2 stacks of Shadow Poison. It's going to be very close here. I don't think it'll actually be enough. 4 stacks might be, though. And yeah, he will actually go down to Red Orc on the Shadow Demon. So, unfortunate getting caught out there at the bottom rune. Maybe being a little bit too overzealous there, as Dark Eve throws down the ward, spots the Tidehunter, and actually Nivox is going to be next in line here, as Red Orc going to come through, Disruption, ready to go, is going to throw out the stun, Arctic with the Metamorphosis. We actually are going to see a TP here, and Nivox with the nice stun. Joom is going to be able to get the crush, but Nivox almost certainly going to fall on the backside. It's going to be very close here, as he might go down. No stacks of Shadow Poison yet. He will dodge and throws out the salve, so he'll be okay for now. Meanwhile, Arctic just going to decide to turn and face the tower and start going to work. So very well played actually from Nivox on the Lion to get the successful stun off. Arctic successfully completing his Dragon Lance, so he's going to start looking to finish up this tower on this push. His Metamorphosis is not quite done yet. Red Orc really wants to get a disruption off, is going to find it onto the Lion. Joom sprints forward, stun is going to connect onto one, but not before he's going to go down almost certainly the Shadow Poison. And actually Nivox might be next in line. Shadow Poison going to connect as well, and that's going to be 3 stacks, which will result in the death of the Demon Witch. As Red Orc moving forward, not sure what this next item's going to be. Could be a potential Yule's pickup, but Kritzel for now doing decently as well in terms of last hits. 34 compared to the 24 of the Death Prophet. Meanwhile, Red Orc is keeping Dark Eve out of position to get some stacks up. And so we're just going to see the game look to reset, I guess. Timbersaw, some Shadow still moving towards the Bloodstone. Is actually skipping the Soul Ring, which is a bit surprising, but regardless, is going to have his first item at a very rapid pace. And this tower should go down pretty quickly, as the Tidehunter has rotated in the mid lane. Does have Ravage ready, but no Blink Dagger to speak of quite yet. Still decently close, but I wouldn't be surprised if he goes for the Mechanism instead. Top lane is going to fall to the Dire side. Sheeps will own you. Able to secure that kill, and Dark Eve getting spotted out here by the ward. But Terrorblade, a little bit of a missed ping, but close enough that they should still be able to get it. Oh, Kritzel still going into the mid lane. Red Orc, rather, is going to rotate around after getting the stack up for the Tidehunter. And it's going to be close. He's actually not quite in vision range. I believe they actually did saw him. We saw a ping coming out from the Witch Doctor. So it's going to lead Red Orc to back off. Team Red just going to look to farm up a little bit more still sitting actually not as ahead as I had expected, only 500 gold ahead, as well as a decent size 500 experience lead, but still fairly even game, even with the 4-2 lead coming out from Team Red. June, meanwhile, just going to be sitting in the bot lane. He's going to start showing up a little bit more, trying to maybe fight Arctic. Is going to get the clap as well as the bash, but that's going to be all she wrote for now. As you don't want to fight in that Sunder 1v1, he will almost certainly win. Meanwhile, Witch Doctor still sitting on level 4. Decent experience gap in terms of levels for this Dire side, as Timbersaw sitting very pretty actually at level 9. That's mostly where the evening out is coming from in terms of the experience graph. But Witch Doctor is still level 4, 2 level 5s as opposed to 1 level 5, and Tidehunter certainly getting the best of that world. Dark Eve, though, is going to throw the cask, and he might be able to make it home. Nope, he is actually going to get taken out by Secret, throwing out the Quip Storm, and we're actually going to see 2 separate lanes getting pushed, as Arctic going to pop the Metamorphosis, and that's probably going to lead to a take in the bottom lane, as we're actually going to see the Exorcism thrown out as well, going into the mid. And Joom shows up, but there's not much he's going to be able to do here, as, yeah, Arctic is just going to turn back. Clap is going to come through, but Joom is taking half of his health bar. And so Arctic just throws out another illusion. He don't care. Death Prophet is going to throw out once more. Kritzel shows up to try and take on Arctic, but he still has Sunder ready. So Kritzel needs to be very careful here, and Arctic actually might go down. Needs one more right click. Sunder does come through though, and Kritzel going to start morphing strength, and that might be actually enough to save him for now. As Joom comes through, does have the clap. He will throw it out. Arctic will fall. So actually, not sure. Oh, Terribly was able to get the reflection off and picks off the kill there. But meanwhile, we're still going to see Team Red moving through the mid lane, and they're going to take 3/4 of a tower down in the mid lane as well, on top of the T1. So a very heavy win in favor of this Radiant side once again. And yeah, that's going to jump the net worth graph up to over 3,000 gold. And almost certainly, yeah, actually experience still pretty even. But regardless, this game, it's starting to get a little bit scary here for Sheeps Wallonia. They still are not too far behind. Terrorblade, though, is moving pretty far ahead, sitting at 6.5k. But, you know, Sheeps, once that Bloodstone gets finished, that's going to be the real game changer here, is can Slim Shadow get the Bloodstone and start making plays happen? As well as Jim, can he get anything going? He's still quite a ways away from the Blink Dagger. Meanwhile, Boulderrain still moving towards his, but is certainly closer, sitting at just about 1,500. Needs only 700 more for that, and as a result, we're going to see Secret moving into the top lane himself. Exorcism on cooldown for 30 seconds. But Slim Shadow is going to get hit up with the tether. Joom rotating up as well, but is running right under a Radiant Ward. And Joom going to get stunned up. Red Orc is going to throw out one stack of Shadow Poison. Boulderrain also with the Gush. Anchor Smash not in quite range. Joom able to get the 2-man clap off though, and that might actually save him. It is going to be very close as he does dodge the next stack. Kritzel going to get disrupted up and is not sure who to go for. They are going to be able to bring down the Tidehunter, and Dark Eve giving chase, but not going to be able to follow up too heavily, as he actually looks to get the stun off onto the Death Prophet, but Secret runs into the trees and successfully finds the teleport home. So a good trade there, as Sheeps actually are able to take the win, and just a little bit of miscommunication, I believe, as Team Red not really sure who to go on, if they should, continue to fight, if they should look to retreat. We saw 2 people look to push forward, the Shadow Demon and the Tidehunter, as well as the Vengeful Spirit, and the Death Prophet really just kind of wanted out. So as a result, Team Red lose a single member and drop a little bit of that net worth lead, but Terrorblade still has been doing just Terrorblade things and is sitting on a Yasha and will probably be finishing up that Manta relatively quickly. But there's going to be the big item of the game, as the Bloodstone has successfully come out for some Shadow, and he'll need to start making big use of that if they're going to try and bring this back. Sheeps need another team fight, just like the one before. So still certainly winnable for them from their perspective, as it's only 6-4, 12 minutes in, 14 minutes in rather. But some Shadow have to start making the plays. Dark Eve still not level 6, but should be getting that pretty quickly. But he's going to walk right into 3, and with the stun coming out, that'll be 1 kill. Nivox does have Finger ready to go if Red Orc gives chase, and they might actually be able to pop him if that comes through. But Reflection not quite in range, and as a result, Arctic just going to look to push out this T2. And it should fall as soon as the Metamorphosis comes out. But Nivox just staying around, wants to try and sap as much XP as he can. Disruption coming through though onto Nivox. Is going to throw out the stun, does connect onto 2. Arctic pops the Metamorphosis and Nivox gets exploded as the Courier also is going to fall. Slimshot able to pick up 1 though. Ravage does come through as well. Kritzel doing what he can to morph strength is going to pop to the illusion and he's still very low. Kritzel might actually go down. No, is not going to fall and Arctic is getting stunned up. Jum does hit the Slithering Crush and Slim Shadow still sitting on full health and most full HP. So Bouldering going to try and find his way out as well. And Jum sitting, not sure if he wants to push up onto the high ground without the vision, but still, Terrorblade just going to bounce off. And Arctic back to farming. Tidehunter does pick up the Blink Dagger, and the Manta being completed there by the Terrorblade, or at least the recipe, just needs about 800 more to complete the Ultimate Orb for the Manta style to be finished. But after that, again, with the tower being taken, that's going to lead to Team Red extending their lead just a little bit. Actually surprised that they brought it up as much as they did, given the team fight basically going nowhere. But still, we are going to see Jum getting close to the Blink Dagger, still needs a little bit more. And this is just a function of, Tide being the one to initiate the lane swap or moving into the jungle. And Jum not nearly farming as quickly as the Tide, only has the Crush to sort of bring about the AoE clear, and especially with the new centaurs being added, that's going to make it just a bit harder for him to get going. Being said, Slim Shadow 13 stacks now, was able to pick up 1 on the backside of that fight, and so we'll have to see if he's able to turn that into an even bigger snowball or if he's going to start floundering with the rest of his team. Ritzel meanwhile in the top lane is going to get disrupted up. Shadow Demon continuing to stack Shadow Poison up. Only 1 stack so far, but he's going to look to throw it out as much as possible. Does have it maxed, so it'll be a decent amount of burst damage here. Should Kritzel take a couple more stacks to the face. While Jum nearing the Blink Dagger, 400 gold till that is complete. While Kritzel going to get disrupted up once again. Ravage not online as Kritzel is going to be forced to jaunt out. Jum going to throw out the stun. Boulderrain blinks forward, throws out the Anchor Smash rather. Onto Jum, going to bring him pretty low, and we are going to see the swap, and that is, well, at least there used to be a Lion and a Witch Doctor there. But Slim Shadow going to get stunned up once again, and he's going to need to try and find his way out. He will go down almost certainly. Yeah, he's going to fall. Jum going to drop, or rather Kritzel going to drop the Vengeful Spirit, but still, a pretty devastating fight there for the Dire side as Red Orc just playing the zoning game, and Exorcism is still going. Just about to finish, but I think they still want to try and push into this T2 as Arctic still has a couple seconds on the Metamorphosis. And this tower will drop fairly quickly here. Actually, Red Orc on the backside. Ravage does come through. He is going to disrupt himself. June is going to get silenced up. Does have the sprint if he needs it. Red Orc, though, dropping very low. Timber Chain does not connect. So that's going to be Timber without a tree to jump to. And Boulder Rain, Gush ready to go. Still not going to throw it out quite yet. Looks like Team Red wants to find the disengage here. Certainly the safer play as the T2 has actually already fallen in the midst of that potential catch opportunity that was missed by Sheep's Wallonia. And Kritzel going to go back to farming. Still did go for the casual Yasha and is starting to move towards the Ethereal Blade, but it's going to take quite a while for that to come online. June, meanwhile, does pick up his Blink Dagger, so he'll start being able to contribute a little bit more. Secret does pick up the Veil, and does have the Yules actually completed, so gonna start being able to move around a little bit quicker, lift herself up should she get caught out. But with the Disruptor, there's a lot of save potential here on Team Red, just to make sure that their teammates are able to disengage, to stay alive for just that little extra bit. And especially with the Demonic Purge coming online here, Red Orc is going to be able to really make someone's life hell should they try and engage. Arctic, Manta, fully complete. Sitting on 2.2k gold, 2.3 almost. And his team is still starting to pull ahead here. It's been an upward progression, but still feel like Sheeps have the ability to maybe bring this back. Going onto the high ground, certainly going to be difficult. Always is. But this Aegis will certainly help should it fall to the Radiant side. And Sheeps not really in a position to contest here. Kritzel still in the top side, does not have an illusion out. And so he won't be able to join the fight. And as a result, this is just going to be a free Roshan for Team Red. As Arctic certainly going to be the one to pick it up. Sunder still ready should he need it. Illusion Rune also going to be picked up by the Death Prophet. And it looks like they're just going to try and go for the mid T3. Look to maybe snatch a lane of Rax here, as Timbersaw does have the Aether Lens, going to boost his damage a little bit. Nivox still just desperately wanting that Blink Dagger. Needs about 200 more gold for that. And that'll help if he can get to it in a decent amount of time, but we are going to see Arctic jumping forward, and that's a lot of damage going on to the T3 here. So that's going to force out the fortification. Jum ready to go forward with the jump into the Slitherine Crush. But not before the T3 falls, and Slim Shadow throwing out the Chakram, doing what little he can. Dark Eve still has the cast ready to go. Nivox gonna throw out the Hex, as well as the Mana Drain to try and dissuade Arctic from pushing forward. Illusion actually gonna come down, do a lot of damage. Arctic is gonna be blown up. That's gonna be the first one. Boulder Rain gonna get the nice Ravage out. Is gonna connect onto 4. Secret on the backside, taking quite a bit of damage from the Death Ward, but Arctic gonna turn onto the Demon Witch, and he's going to fall. That's going to be 2 dead on the backside. Double kill. Slim Shadow doing what he can, but Arctic just wants to press forward. Kritzel forced to buy back here, and Timbersaw is going to be the only one left. Arctic, meanwhile, did have the Aegis burn, but is still looking to maybe stick around, or no, they're just going to back off here, as they're content with just taking the Rax and don't want to try and fight anymore. So certainly smart play there from Team Red, as it'll result in no throws for now. As off the back of that fight, Team Red taking a fairly substantial lead, closing in on 15,000 net worth at 21 minutes in, and sitting at about a 5,000 experience lead. So Slim Shadow was able to pick up a couple Bloodstone charges, but still sitting at only 10 stacks is going to make his job of tanking up the fights a little bit more difficult. Force Staff picked up by Play Within. And we'll have to see what his next choice is going to be. Probably maybe an Aether Lens will be my guess. Or potentially just a Aghanim Scepter, as Jum rotating into the bottom lane wants to maybe try and find the Vengeful Spirit. Who's going to stay safe, going to move back. Boulder Rain finishing up a Force Staff here. And a couple Terrorblade Illusions going to get thrown out just to push the wave out. Meanwhile, Arctic moving towards a butterfly. And that's going to make it really hard for Sheepstolen to bring him down. Now, granted, a lot of their damage is spell damage, especially coming from the Morphling once he gets the Ethereal Blade up. But Boulder Rain is going to take over. And with this Force Staff complete, he'll also be in a position to really help his teammates out. Arctic just going to sap the health off of one of the Shadow Demon Illusions. And Sunder on cooldown for 80 seconds, but certainly should be a decent amount of time before this next fight happens. As Butterfly finished up for the TB. Secret moving into the bottom lane. Gonna go for the Octarine Core next. Just continue to have the Exorcism ready to go. Team Red, Tidehunter. Like I said, Force Staff complete. We'll have to see if he goes for the Refresher Orb next. Maybe he goes for the Aghanim Scepter. Not quite sure what the next is. I would definitely assume Refresher comes before the Aghanim Scepter here. But certainly the Ags is the more swaggy of the two options. And we talked about the Lion. Now does have the Blink Dagger in his arsenal and can maybe turn that into a sick Ravage of his own.
as if he can get the big Earth Spike off, he can certainly turn a fight into the dire favor. While Darkheave still sitting with not much to his name, just the Arc Boots and the Magic Wand, wants to try and probably pick up a point booster for the Ags, but that's not going to come in a very quick time either, as Slim Shadow looking to just push the wave out. Probably he'll be moving towards a Blink Dagger next, would be my assumption. Could also go for a Blade Mail. Would be a good choice, I would think, this game. As Terrorblade not usually one to pick up a BKB. But Slim Shadow just going to throw out the Chakrams, look to push the wave out. Could also be going for an Ags of his own here. As Boulder Rain, ready, waiting. Has the Ravage, ready to go. Slim Shoulder. Slim Shadow going to get silenced up. Adaptive Strike onto the Illusion here. As Kritzel sitting about 1300 HP. Boulder Rain, yeah, this is kind of what I mentioned before, is Red Orc sitting in the back, throwing out the disruptions onto the Terrorblade, and they don't even need to force a fight here. They can just wait and make Sheeps Will Own You force the engagement. Otherwise, they're just going to get megged at this point. Secret is going to throw out the ultimate. Kritzel still waiting. Arctic throws out the Metamorphosis. He's going to start going to town on the racks. Slim Shadow still in the front lines, but he can't do much here as the stun's starting to bounce back and forth. Arctic in a bit of a sticky situation here. Nivik's going to get silenced up and not going to be able to get the finger off, and the Force Staff going to keep Arctic topped off. Secret throws out one of his tethers. Still has 3 ready and waiting. Red Orc going to throw the disruption out onto the illusions. Create a couple more. And Jum misses the stun, so a bit of a wasted opportunity. Wanted to try and pick up one on the backside, but Shadow Demon able to secure. And Kritzel gonna get turned on. He's gonna get blown up almost certainly. Jum with a nice stun on the backside, but that's only gonna do so much here as Death Ward comes through. Play within, barely gonna live. No, Jum will bring him down. Slim Shadow gonna try and lift himself up, do what little he can, but GG is gonna be called. And one quick team fight was all it took for Sheeps Will Own You to tap out. And that's going to result in Team Red taking the first game, leading the series 1-0. A pretty exceptional team fight orchestrated there, and the team composition really coming in its own on the last push, forcing Sheeps to really engage, and they just weren't prepared for it. They didn't really want to go in, and as a result, they took an unfavorable fight, getting dropped. So Team Red want to see if they're able to secure the next game, or if Sheeps can maybe bring it back and try and pull out another win. Going 4-1 on the season, or 4-2 at this point on the season, instead of dropping to 3-2 or 3-3. But in any case, my name is Coach. You can check me out on Twitter at CallMeCoach. You can definitely give me a favorite here on twitch.tv/CBB692, or you can check out my YouTube channel, youtube.com/user/CBB692, or just search Call Me Coach. Thanks again, guys. I will be back in a couple minutes, and keep it locked.